Welcome, everyone. Okay, let's dive right into this fascinating explainer on how neuroscience literally proves that we can rewire our default joy levels. Oh, and meet our little stick man here. He's going to be our official happiness habit guide today. Now, if you, kind of like him, ever feel like you just can't help but find the stress even on a genuinely good day, hey, you are not alone. It's not a personality flaw, it is literally just biology. So you might be wondering, is your brain actively fighting your happiness? I know, it sounds a little dramatic, right? But the truth is, your brain is absolutely not wired for joy. It is wired for survival. And honestly, until you truly understand that difference, nothing you try to do to feel better is going to stick. This isn't pessimism, it's just pure neuroscience. See, your brain has this built-in negativity bias. It was specifically designed to keep your ancient ancestors alive by constantly scanning the horizon for threats, problems, and danger. And for thousands of years, this system worked perfectly. It kept our ancestors alive, just like our stickman guide fleeing that literal tiger over there on the left. But today, well, we don't really have tigers roaming the streets. Instead, our poor guy is sweating over unread emails, social media feeds, and financial pressure on the right. The crazy part is, your brain treats that glowing laptop like a literal predator. It defaults to stress and worry, completely regardless of how good your life actually is. But we can fix this little biological bug. Here is our roadmap. First, we'll cover the paradigm shift, and then we're going to dive into 3 specific habits: negativity interruption, deliberate savoring, and intentional play. Let's kick things off with part 1, the paradigm shift, meaning happiness is actually a trainable skill. The whole secret here really comes down to one big fancy word: neuroplasticity. Basically, this means your brain's current tendency to worry, it's just a default setting. It is not a permanent fixture. There was this groundbreaking study out of the University of Wisconsin showing that when unhappy participants were taught specific mental habits and they practiced them consistently, their brain scans literally began to change. The neural connections associated with positive emotion, resilience, and present moment awareness physically grew stronger. So, with deliberate practice, you can structurally change your brain. Your current happiness level is literally just a starting point. Which brings us right to our first actionable step. Habit number 1, negativity interruption. In the neuroscience world, there's a very famous saying, neurons that fire together wire together. Think of it like this. Every single time you let a negative thought just spin and cycle in your head, you are deepening a physical groove in your brain. For chronic worriers, well, worry has literally become their brain's path of least resistance simply because they've traveled that pathway so many times. To stop it, we have to actively interrupt that firing process. So to reroute your brain away from all that negativity, you're going to use these 3 exact steps, just like our stickman guide is doing here. First, catch the thought. Second, physically say or just firmly think the word stop. And third, observe. Replace that thought by naming 3 completely neutral physical facts in your immediate environment. We're not talking about forced affirmations or toxic positivity here, just simple neutral facts like the ceiling is white, the air is cool, that coffee smells good. Try doing this for the next 24 hours. You are literally rerouting your brain away from stress and beefing up the circuits for present moment awareness. All right, moving on to habit number 2, deliberate savoring. I absolutely love this quote from researcher Rick Hansen at UC Berkeley because it beautifully explains our predicament. He says, the brain is like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. Just think about it. Your brain processes negative experiences instantly, locking them into your long-term memory to protect you. It's like Velcro. But positive experiences, they get processed really slowly. If you don't actively pay attention, they slide right off, like Teflon, leaving absolutely no neural trace. Meaning, most of the genuinely good things happening to you every single day are simply not registering in your brain. So how do we fix this massive flaw? You need exactly 20 to 30 seconds. That is the biological gap required to transfer a positive experience into your long-term memory and actually build a lasting neural pathway for positive emotion. If you just smile at something nice and move on 2 seconds later, your brain basically doesn't record it. So when something good happens today, maybe it's a moment of warmth, a quiet sense of satisfaction, or just a really, really good cup of coffee, use these steps. Notice it, then physically stop and hold it in your conscious awareness for a full 30 seconds. Don't rush past it. Let it land. Notice exactly where you physically feel it in your body, kind of like our stickman here just soaking up the sunshine. Guys, this isn't self-indulgence. This is neuroscience. You are deliberately rebalancing the equation so your brain finally records your happiness. Now, before we get to the final, most surprising habit, I really need to ask you this slightly uncomfortable question. When was the last time you did something purely because it was enjoyable? Not to be productive, not for education, not for self-improvement, just for the feeling of it. For most adults, the honest answer is usually, well, not recently. Enjoyment has kind of become this thing we feel we have to earn after all the important stuff is done, and our brains, they're paying a massive price for that. Which brings us right into our final step. The third habit, intentional play. Now, I know play might sound a little childish on the surface, but the science behind it is just staggering. Dr. Stuart Brown at the National Institute for Play found that genuine play, doing something purely for its own enjoyment with absolutely zero specific outcome in mind, creates a totally unique neurological condition. Your brain isn't just relaxing, it is firing on all cylinders. It's activating creativity, emotional regulation, social bonding, and long-term memory all at the exact same time. It's literally doing its most sophisticated work. Without play, your prefrontal cortex basically gets starved of stimulation. Life just starts to feel heavy and rigid, like an anchor weighing you down. And it's not even because anything is objectively wrong, it's because the brain lost a critical source of stimulation. But contrast that with the playing brain. It's strong, it's flexible, and it's emotionally healthy. A brain that plays regularly is, quite literally, structurally better at being happy. So here is your final action plan. Identify something you used to genuinely enjoy, maybe drawing, playing an instrument really badly, experimental cooking, reading fiction, whatever it is. Then schedule 30 minutes for it this week. The absolute key here is to do it strictly for enjoyment, not to achieve anything or get good at it. That 30 minutes is not wasted time. It is vital neuroscience necessary for sustained happiness. It is exactly the kind of stimulation your prefrontal cortex is craving. Now remember, this entire rewiring process doesn't just happen magically from watching an explainer once. Your brain's current default was built over years and years of repetition. To change it, you've got to return to these three habits: negativity interruption, deliberate savoring, and intentional play consistently. Repetition is the secret sauce that deepens those new positive grooves until they become your brain's brand new path of least resistance. To wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with one quick question to chew on. Which of these three habits will you actually practice today? Because a happier, more resilient brain isn't just some lucky trait you're born with. It is a trainable skill, and it is entirely within your control. So pick one habit today and let's get rewiring.